Welcome to our weekly podcast, Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We are designed for entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. We also cater very heavily around the real estate industry as a whole, bringing you hot topics and up-to-date content with a lot of amazing special guest speakers along the way. So sit back, buckle your seatbelt, and get ready for the best hour of your day. Welcome. Chris and Ross, Real Talk. It's been a while. Glad to be back in the saddle again. Geez, we definitely have not been consistent. I apologize out there to all you that are listening. I mean, we've been kind of sporadic, but we've had a really busy season so far this year in 2024. So we're trying to get back in the saddle. Like I said, Ross and I have committed to doing this. So we are back at Real Talk with Chris and Ross, episode, I believe, 47. Welcome. My co-host, as always, hostess with the mostest, Ross the third. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Great intro, by the way. So glad to be on here. You know, last year we really went hard. We had a consistency to where, man, I mean, we're at episode 47. Granted, yeah, we're halfway through the year, but you know what? The back nine is going to be filled with so much value that hopefully we cover the, beginning of this year and going into the next year. So thanks for hanging with us, guys. And, I was just thinking about it too, before we jumped on when I was seeing the intro, and I know we talk about the intro a lot. Just how many amazing lives we actually have had on here, how many amazing leaders, people, their stories, and how great it is to connect with so many different stories and walks of life and their success. I mean, if you really think about it, 47 episodes, granted, some of those are just you and I. What a great time. So if you're a listener, thank you so much for listening. And if you're somebody let's put this out there too. If you're somebody out there that maybe has a story that you would like to share, reach out to Chris or myself. We would love to see if you'd be a great fit to be a guest, if you're in the real estate space.
100%, which is why we designed this podcast from the very beginning, right? Was about us kind of exclusively discussing matters within business, entrepreneurs, and real estate obviously is a very heavily topic, right? Because you and I both in real estate, so we kind of focus on that. And most of our guests are kind of focused, and you're right. I like to bring some light to that. We have, a lot of amazing guests down from like our CEO, and everybody in between, right? Where they have had, I would say, not saying nobody, but I'm saying like people that maybe don't really know them a lot, not very heavily known and marketed, but yet have amazing stories, which leads me to this piece here. Actually, in conversation, I was thinking about, who are we going to start bringing on for guests again? And there was an individual I wanted to bring on this week, but they were not able to do so. It was such a last minute. And it was because their story, and they weren't, again, very heavily well known as an individual out there in the space, but yet very remarkable story. And the reason why I want to say that is because I believe each and every one of us is going through any type of challenge we talk about in life. And real estate's not been easy since 2022, 23. Last 2 years, 18 months has been very challenging for every realtor. And, but then again, you see a lot of them that are very, very successful right now. So it's so funny. Like you hear a lot of people that are probably complaining about all the stuff, which is normal. The NAR stuff, the inflation stuff, the interest rate stuff, right? But yet I have a handful, if not more, that are just thriving and pushing through, like that Buffalo scenario, right? They run through the storm or just trying to outrun it. It's like you run right into it because you're going to get through it eventually. But those that try to turn around and run their direction, run from it, it eventually catches up to you and it will overcome you and bring you down because you're just not in that place to support yourself. But you're one of those ones. And I want to talk about this today because, today you're one that, I've known you since you came to EXP. And, your story, we've had a podcast about your story on here before, as well as mine, but you have an amazing story. And we'll go back here since 2021, 22. So last 2 years, let's say 2 years, 24 months for you. And we've had multiple conversations about how you were challenged with a lot of things in life, whether it was personal, family, situational situations, and business as well. And you, again, as an individual, are not immune to all the other side effects that every other realtor out there are going through. The interest rates, inflation, the lack of inventory, right? All these excuses, I want to say. But yet today we had a conversation and you said today, how many escrows do you have currently going right now?
So first off, I want to go a little farther back, and I appreciate you flattering me, man, with all your great words. But There is so much power in your story. There is, and I think that oftentimes, like you said, you have to run towards the storm. And for whatever reason, whether it's the social media highlight reel or whatever it is, I don't know if we've conditioned ourselves to just always be on the highlight or always on the up. But it's so unfair to have those expectations on yourself. One, because the stock market doesn't even do that. The stock market goes up and down, up and down. Not even the perfect company operates on nothing but success. We have our shortcomings. And for me, this year and in the last couple of years has just been learning to stop wishing things would get easier and stop wishing things would get easier and just start getting better. Right. Yeah. Because, and I had this analogy and I'm like, man, if I take 100-pound weight, it's going to be 100 pounds today. It's going to be 100 pounds tomorrow. It's going to be 100 pounds next month. The 100 pounds isn't going to change. So the heaviness of this weight is going to stay the same. And, with that is that the only way that weight's going to get lighter to me is if I work out more. Okay. The only way that those hard conversations that we have in real estate, whether we're trying to prospect, trying to generate our business, is going to get easier is when we start picking up the phone and having more hard conversations, having more connections. Right. And so, 2020, I would say pretty much if you were in real estate, man, you had a great year. Coming into 2020, I mean, you had to just breathe and have a license to get transactions. Yeah. I mean, sorry if I'm offending anybody. I came in at 17. A lot of us were order takers until about 21. It's just, granted, you still had to work hard if you wanted to do great numbers. But going into 22, 23, and now 24, that's just, I had to shift my mindset. Instead of, trying to work what used to work, and instead of, saying it's all doom and gloom, knowing that transactions are closing every single day, knowing that people are still getting married, that they're still having babies, that people are still retiring and that they're moving out of their houses and downgrading, upsizing, resizing, relocating. It is an excuse to say that you cannot have success in any market. And it's amazing on how much our mindset will gravitate towards those things. And so I will be honest, yes, life happened. I had to answer a lot of questions building my team. I really worked on my team 20, 21, or really 19 through 21. And when 22 shifted and my team really kind of evaporated out of it was like a ghost town, man. Yeah. I had a whole identity crisis. I had to figure out everything from ground zero. And I used to run from that. And the thing is too, and I want to be really authentic right now, it is hard sometimes when you're on a winning streak to admit that you don't know where you're going next or how you're going to get there when you've already had such great success. It feels almost abnormal to ask for help or to appear that you need help. And for me, I struggled with that. So I just kept smiling, having faith it was going to get better, showing up every day, doing all the things. But deep down, I was just hurting, going, man, this is scary. I haven't experienced a market shift. It's just been nothing but sunshine and roses. Granted, I had my ups and downs in a commission-based environment, but for the most part, the markets I experienced were pretty easy to navigate. And, this market's been a little different. And I even think that for seasoned realtors, I don't care if you've been in the game 20, 30 years, this market is just a little different than the 08 or the 80s, and 90s. So, a lot of growth and a lot of acceptance and just trying to get better and stop wishing things would get easier, I think has been the anthem lately, man. And I hope that all made sense. I hope I tied that in. But okay, you asked me how many escrows I had. I did forget your first question. So right now I have again in the Michigan area, I got 1.8 million under contract, and I have about another 700 to, I'm looking at the wall right now, 700,000 on the market that's going to sell quick, and another like 2 million behind that. So, about 10 to 12 transactions are coming together here, and just this month, which is great.
Yep. And the reality is, we all know how that works. Is once you get the momentum going and that process rolling, everything is easier. Not easier, but it's definitely more manageable, and it comes more fluid when you have the momentum rolling like a snowball down a hill. It's known. It's law of physics. So, but it's getting that train out of the station is always the biggest challenge. I think like you said, just going back to your story you mentioned 2 minutes ago, 2019, 2017, 2018, you've been developing all this, building it. You've been working on the train in the station. And then 22 and 20, And 21, if we're honest, was a fake rendition of us thinking that the train was out, rolling down the track, and that we were just cruising for a lot of us, right? And then all of a sudden, 20, 21, 22, 22 was like, oh, you were driving a fake train. The train wasn't even real. Let's just pull this train off the track for a minute and let it derail. And then here we are. So then it just really dug into how strong, how much determination, how much will and desire, and why. Your why was huge back then. It was a lot of mental, emotional pieces that really psychological that helped people get through this. So we had multiple conversations. We and I talk like regularly, and we podcast.
And I love you for that, bro. You're my brother for life, man. Straight up. Like, you know, for those of you guys that I just want to say, like, Chris, not only on air, but off air, is just such an authentic individual. You are, man. I mean, you're always trying to add value. And I think that's great, not only from a leadership quality, but, you know, whenever we look at people, we wonder, hey, are they their real self on the stage and off the stage? And I can say for you, my friend, you are 100% that guy. And you have a lot of great experience that, let's face it, how many people have built the things you've built and gone through what you've done and conquered the mountains to be where you're at today. So I value your insight, man. You got a lot of great wisdom.
Well, this is the key about EXP again. I want to bring this to the, you know, to the surface, is that, you know, there's a lot of amazing companies and a lot of amazing places you can be at and work at. And there's a lot of, I'll say, shiny object syndrome things that are put out there on the table as far as value pieces. But I don't think at the end of the day, nothing trumps the relationships and the skill and the ability to know that you're with people that you're surrounded with that have the experience and opportunities and things, and yet on top of that are willing to share it, like willingly to share it. That's the next. There's a lot of people in the business who are great and very successful and have a lot of things and talent, but that they refuse to want to share. They're not in that space of abundance, right?
And it's silly too. It's so silly.
It is. Like, it is mentality. It's scarcity mindset, right? It's a scarcity mindset. I'm going to keep what I have right here. I'm not going to share it with anybody, because if I do, then I'm going to lose it to competition, and the competition is going to take over. And you're just really honing in and like really talented. I mean, you're really just thinking more about your insecurities. So whatever. Well, I won't get there. But anyways, my point is, yeah, we're here to help every one of us. And that was the story with you and I. And so I just want to go back here and talk about some conversations that we had with you back in 2022. And very heartfelt, meaningful, transparent, authentic conversations. We're like, I don't know what I'm doing here at this point. I'm struggling like crazy. And that was just the business side of it. And then you actually had the other personal side of it, of family life and situations going on that was just like stacked on top of you. So
yeah, man.
And it was like always the same conversation. We'd finish the conversation with Ross. You really got to keep your mind straight. You really got to stay focused on what's important to you. You really got to continue on and being consistent, never quitting, and always just showing up. And you did, and you actually have done that. Like, I remember you have conversations, you would text me intermittently throughout this time frame in 2022 and 2023, and like just a random text like that, like, hey, bro, I just got another one to listen. Oh, hey, I got this. It was like these little wins, which I love. I talk about that all the time, right? It's like really understanding and acknowledging your small wins, and you would show that with me, and I was like, yeah. So anyways, my point is, like, I really want to look at you now, and like today, this morning on the call, you're like, dude, I got 13 in NASCAR right now, blah, 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 blah. I was like, and I'm busier than I can be. Okay, and here we are. Here we are. If I could rewind this video, or if I could rewind your life back to 2022 and showed you this video right now, this morning, or our conversation, replay that with you, what would you have done differently? And I feel like it almost would have spoiled you, because if I could take this conversation we had this morning prior to coming on to this podcast and how excited you were, and you're sharing with me all of your wins and where you're at, like with your business, and that 22, like back, 18 months ago, Ross, that was down with his shoulders down and like, defeated. And I said, hey, Ross, why don't you watch this quick little 2-second video of a conversation we had on June 2024. It's 28th, right? Yeah, 28th. 29th. Yeah. Oh, 26. My bad. Jumping ahead. June 26th.
You're good.
And then I'm like, well, if you watch that clip, would it have changed the trajectory of how you actually approached your business? And in my mind, I think it may have, because at that point you would have known. Actually, would have went two ways. I'll take that back. It went two ways. One, you would have said, "Oh my God, all right, I am going to make it happen." and then you actually pushed forward and continued on with the progress that you knew in your heart and mind that was actually accentuating and firing that up. Or two, you would have been like, well, it's going to happen. Let me go on a cruise right now and take a vacation because on June 26, 2024, I'm going to have 13 escrows and I'm going to have this kind of business going. And I'm going to have this much of volume. So, I look at it both ways. I don't think that it's sometimes good to know the end, which is why the whole process of us pushing through and going through the journey and experiencing all the shit we go through. Because if you don't, you'll never really appreciate and respect the outcome. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
Talk a bit about that with you. What were some of the things? Because again, I want to hear. I want to kind of break this down. What were you doing mentally, psychologically, physically, consistently, obviously in here to kind of get you to where you're at right now? And it's probably not. This is no disrespect. It's probably not rocket science stuff. It's not like things you're bringing out that's like this titanium new metal that's going to change the way NASA builds spaceships to go to the moon, right? Let's kind of share with us so the people out there that are listening that are going through the same thing,
Yeah, man. Yeah. So a couple things. One, guys, by no means am I even having record-breaking years like I've had back in the day, right? Like we're still building up to that. We're recalibrating. Obviously, things are different. So it's not. I receive the compliments you're saying. I know, yeah, we have some pending, but I don't feel like we're even near what we're going to be at the end of the year. So I'm like pausing the celebration. But to answer your question, this is what I would say.
Pause on that real quick. Can I pause on that real quick? Because
go ahead, dude. I know you're gonna body check me. I already know it.
The point of where you're at, from where we were talking 18 months ago in conversations to where we're at today, I think this is a freaking hell of a celebration right now. I think this is definitely one of those things where you need to celebrate your small wins. You have just accomplished a small win. It's a win.
For sure.
So I just want to say that.
Sure. A win's a win. All right.
I don't want to downplay that with that kind of backpedaling of, well, we're not where we're supposed to be at. None of us are, Ross. Holy shit. None of us
1,000%.
Right. So I just like,
hey, all right. So I got you. I love you for that too. So I would say this, man, it came down to the simplest things of stop allowing myself to lose little wins. It went as small as, such as I gave up nicotine 80 days ago. I was doing Zen pouches. This sounds so silly, but just craving, knowing I didn't want to be on Zen or nicotine, knowing I was continuously doing it. And it was I know I needed to go to the gym and lose weight because I wasn't happy with the way that I looked. Okay. It was settling there. It was settling in my foods. It was settling in my dials that I made for the day. It was simply settling. It is not hard to win. Like you said, it's not like I did some miracle, drug that gave me this boost of business or this boost of understanding. I truly believe it's just knowing to say no to the things in your life that you need to say no to today, so that way you can live the life that you want to live tomorrow. And actually sticking to it. The other piece that I would say is you have to be very forgetful. You have to be so forgetful. I think that when we have big wins or we have major losses, we'll hold on to those losses or wins and they'll define a quarter, 2 quarters, they'll define a year. They don't need to define a year. A loss today doesn't need to define tomorrow, right? And I think that was another area that I allowed myself to stay in. In 22, the reason why I struggled so much, for those of you that maybe don't know my story, is because that was the first year that since 17, I kept doubling down on my business, that I actually springboarded out, got my own office space, built it out for a team, had a big overhead that I never used to have. And I was preparing and had put all my chips in. I'll be transparent. I took money out of my house to build this out. It was like, we're going all in. So it wasn't like it was all my savings. It was everything that I had worked for those 17, 18, 19, 20, 5 years. And so when I hit a wall and it didn't work, I was a lost dog. And I just didn't know how to let it go. I was like so pissed off that, man, come on, are you kidding me? Like, I worked for everything for this moment. It was supposed to explode. So, now, yeah, if I watched a video of me today, I think I maybe would have been less likely to allow myself to drown in that. But what I know is this, the mountain that we have to climb, it's going to be scary while we're in the mountain. And even when we get to the top, and even if I saw the aha highlight reel moment of this video where I'm at today, and I do feel a lot better, I feel more confident, it still doesn't mean that the climb there isn't going to be difficult and scary. It still doesn't mean that there's going to be the day-to-days that you don't want to wake up, you don't want to work, you don't want to, right? You're not happy, you don't want to talk. You're still going to have that. And I think that, again, embracing that instead of having such a high expectation that you need to be this certain thing or feel a certain way, and just saying, hey, it's okay if it sucks, and just going and trusting the process, all those things adding up, I believe, is why I'm at where I'm at today. So massive accountability, knowing what to say no to, knowing what to say yes to, and man, be easily forgetful. Stop holding on to this shit. Stop holding on to the stuff. I mean, that goes in everywhere, and that goes to complement not only the business pieces, but the emotional pieces, the family pieces, all that, man. We have to let go. We have to let go.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. It's like anything else. Like, figuratively speaking, if we were like shackled or handcuffed or roped by our ankle to a piece in the wall, and it just doesn't let go of us, it holds on to us, there's impossible. Law of physics is we cannot move forward. I mean, look at the example they use of an elephant roped to a little small plastic chair. Like, that shows how powerful that really is. The elephant knows no different. The massive freaking 800,000 pound or whatever that is, I don't know how much they weigh, but massively could completely destroy and obliterate that plastic chair. But yet it's held to it by a thin piece of rope, and it just doesn't go anywhere because psychologically it thinks it's stuck. And how many of us get in our business and our ways that way? And this is a prime example of what you just spoke of right here. Again, I'm going to go back and reiterate all the things you just said and not take away from you, no disrespect and thinking it's not worthy, but you're right. Learning to be forgetful, which means you let go and forget all the shit that's wrong or went wrong with you, right? So you don't carry it with you moving forward. Being consistently showing up. You were tired of smoking habits. You were tired of the smoking habits. You were tired of looking at yourself in the mirror, like you said, and seeing yourself not completely happy with the way you look physically, which obviously affected you mentally, emotionally, right? And that just speared all the rest of that like a downward spiral. All these things, again, we're not going into like some major vault, clicking two things and putting a special code in and showing our eyeball and doing all this kind of like top secret NSA stuff to find this magic potion. Bro, this is simple things in life that truly
so simple
affected you personally. And I promise you, everybody listening out there right now on this podcast, listening to this session, is going through the same exact things that you're going through or have experienced and gone through, but yet they want to sit in their misery and they want to sit in their dump, if you want to speak, and say, God, these things aren't working, life isn't working. Everything about them is negative, right? And they're not learning to be forgetful. They're not letting go of the things of the past. They're not looking up and showing up to be their best version of themselves, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That's why we're in the place you're at. Again, those are listening. This is it. If you're listening and you're thinking, oh my God, we're going to hear some magic stuff that Ross is going to throw at us like the 10 Commandments, like you're Moses. This is what you shall do. You shall do those. Yeah, no, this isn't how it works. So let's go back to consistency. My thing is consistency. Everything in life is transformed and developed through consistent action, behavior. It's all done that. I mean, like you can see a massive rock that has consistently hit by ocean water over and over and over again. And it's just water, but yet it's carved out a space in the side of a mountain that no longer exists, right? You're thinking, oh, how did that happen? It was repetition. It was over and over again. Eventually it gave way and created this new mountainscape, right? So consistency, I think, is massively huge. Number one, important. What were some of the things that you changed consistently that were like, you can notice a major change maybe in your life that you warranted as a win? Like,
okay,
big or small?
This one actually, I would say I had a light bulb idea right when you said that. Like, what is the number one thing? And I think that it's, and anybody can likely relate to this, and anyone can apply this in their business literally right now. And this is how simple it is. If you put it on your to-do list today, get it done today. I don't care if you have to stay up till 3 a.m. Get it done today. If it's on there, that goes for dials, that goes for contacts, that goes for whatever you said you're going to do for just today. The other thing is, there's a transition piece to this. If you keep putting it on your to-do list and you're not doing it, take it off. Because what you're doing is you're actually bringing yourself down. You're telling yourself that you're not able to do this task, and you keep telling yourself you're going to do it. And so you're actually creating losses for yourself when, you know what, if you got a big schedule, you got a big to-do list and you're not hitting any, just remove the schedule. There's no need for it. We don't need to fill up the calendar. We don't need to fill up the to-do list. Like, do what you say you're going to do, and just start there. And if you can start there, I guarantee you, you're going to go, holy shit. Like, and then you're going to start wanting to add stuff to that to-do list and not compromise. I mean, and that goes for the simplest thing. Like, oh, hey, I need to clean my office today or clean my desk or whatever it is. Just start getting wins and stick to that to-do list. I mean, that is the simplest thing for consistency for me that I think has changed my life in business recently, where I would like, let's just drag that from the today column to tomorrow. And then you keep doing it for like 5 days. And it's like, why is this to-do list still here? And it's 7 weeks and it's only takes me 10 minutes. It's because you're lazy and you're not accountable. That's why.
That's crazy. And it's so simple. I love that. Ross. Because as soon as you stop showing up for yourself, is the moment in your mind internally, you start to degrade and tear yourself apart and realize that you don't show up for yourself. You don't love yourself. And we want to go down to the smallest core factor of that. You don't love yourself enough. And that ultimately starts to deteriorate all your behaviors and other areas of your life. It doesn't stop there. The fact that you put on your to-do list to go clean your office today, but yet something small and meaningless and like, well, whatever, you're right, I can clean it tomorrow. And you continue to push that on because tomorrow never comes, as we all know. And then next day, 2 months later, your office looks like a pile of dog shit. But then it's like you really have sold yourself and let yourself down. You didn't show up ever for yourself. So I can see how that psychologically destroys yourself. I love
it does. That. Yeah. It's simple, but it does. Yeah. And the thing is oftentimes if you're a 1099 entrepreneur, I mean, typically we don't have many people keeping us accountable besides ourselves and our bank account, right? Like it's just the way it is. And so, we typically like to settle, or we like to define what we think we can settle on. And, it really has to be non-negotiables. And the other thing I'll say is this too, and I think this is a really important point, and I really want to drive this one home more than anything. What I realized is, oftentimes, at least I'm a big believer in, God. I'm a big Christian. And I believe that God always wants what's best for all of his children. I just do. Okay. So whether you can confine in that idea or not, just try to hear me out. And what I often see is that when I prepare myself every day, ready to serve, ready to help others, when I prepare myself, I have the knowledge base, I have the skill set, I have that market data and understanding. When I prepare myself, and I'm in my, suit coat, or I feel confident when I prepare myself and I'm ready to go tackle the day. It's ironic that I'm able to serve more, help more, give more, and be more in every area of my life. And ultimately, I'm able to help God's children navigate this amazing real estate process, whether they're selling, they're buying, or doing both in a confident way. Why would God want to give you all this business if you're going to just mess it all up and not be able to handle it? And I think that accountability in that arena matters. And so, you got to show up every single day like you've earned the business, and that you're actually like going to execute for for these people, because there are so many people that depend on us to do a great job for them every day. And some of us think that we deserve the business because we're just sitting around. And the truth is we're not prepared to receive it, nor how to handle it all at that time. So yeah, definitely. That's a big piece too, man. Prepare.
I 100%. I always go back to the belief that everybody's a leader, because that what you just said ultimately is a definition of a leader, right? You're out there leading people, helping them distinguish and identify their key elements in life, their talents in life. And then whether, you throw the aspect of God in there, which is fine too. I think those that have that space with God, great, appreciate, respect that. Those that don't, I respect that too. Teach his own. But the reality is you found something though, that you realize that you are a leader. And I want to make that point, because I do think that people realize that they're not leaders. Like I'm just this one person kind of aimlessly walking through life, and I'm not affecting anybody's life at all. I'm not doing anything for anybody, but you are. Your example is obviously leading people. Your example is showing people how to show up in life. And especially we learn that as a parent. As a parent, number one, right? We're constantly leading our children. So everybody at some point in life, if you've had kids in this life, you're a leader, whether you like it or not. So you got to figure out ways to actually show up in that space. And I like that. And coming from a place of contribution, servitude, and selflessness is where it's key too, right? You're being transparent and vulnerable with yourself, and being that person that is a great example to others. I love it. Thank you. That's awesome too. One of the other things I want to mention here is that I think you got in a space and a place in which you truly were burning your boats. Like this place, like you said, whether it was 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I don't know. I don't know if you can actually define the actual true date and time that you said, all right, screw this. Like, I'm done. This is it. I'm tired of being tired of being tired. And I'm just done with this constant repetitive, whatever, loss. And so in your mind, right, a loss. And do you know maybe what that looked like? Do you have an idea of that moment? And you said also, I'm going to pinpoint, you went to the point as far as borrowing money against your home, which means you believed in yourself. And it was like your last ditch effort to go do what you need to do. What, and I respect the heck out of you too. I mean, we all look at, we talk about Brent, Brent, people look at Brent Gove now, right? The guy who makes an astronomical amount of money every month, right? We get it. And you just get to see the highlight reel of him right now today and thinking, oh my God, he just is amazing. But if you hear a story and hell, like, yeah, he had to borrow money, he had to borrow against things, he had to do this, he had to go down to the lowest of lowest levels to get the money to scrape it, to make it work, to build back up to what he believed in himself he could do, his potential. He believed his potential, which I think is where he lacks in. They lack belief in their potential and ability, and that's the problem, right? So I want to go back to you. My question to you guys, do you have that moment? Do you know? Maybe you don't. I don't know. Like, here it is.
I'll say this because when I started this journey, I was, in my apartment with $53 left to my name and an eviction notice on my door. It's always been, hey, we're going to go all out and all in because no one's coming to save you. Okay. And I don't care where you come from or, this isn't just for me. I mean, I genuinely, hey guys, no one's coming to save you. You got to build the boat yourself. You got to take the direction. A defining moment. Well, I'll say this, so to preface that with that base of my story, yes, is it scary to double down, to leverage a HELOC on your house, to max your credit cards out and, maybe do it again and again and again and again, and you're just wondering, man, okay, eventually something's got to crack. Of course it's scary. Of course it's challenging, but this is the thing, again, I'm not going to take any of this stuff with me to the grave. And I tell my wife all the time, the biggest price that I'd never want to pay is regret. And I never want to be on my deathbed looking back on my life going, I wonder if, and I tell my kids all the time, hey, dad might not have it all at one time, but I can promise you this, there's never going to be a time you're going to see me give up. There's never going to be a time that you're going to see me say, hey, you know what, we're retreating and we're backing out. Even if we have to sell the house. I told my wife when we were in this process in 21 and 22, 23, 24, and I applaud her. I give so much credit to my spouse for being able to eat the ramen when we had to eat ramen, to actually stay by my side when shit was just looking like, is she going to have to go back to work? I'm the sole breadwinner of my household for 5 years. And I say that to say that, yes, it's scary. But the defining moment for me was when it was last year, right around Christmas, going in January, February into this year. And I was completely, bank account was as low as it's ever been. I mean, it was like, man, if we might have to put the house up, we might have to sell the cars. We might have to. And you know what? It was in that moment I had my greatest breakthrough, because every day it was like, well, how worse can it get? How bad can whatever, get rid of, okay. And so, I went all in, and it's amazing that, it all worked out. And here we are, looking at, a great year, and things are panning out. But I'll say this, it's not whether, it was 8 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. You could be experiencing this today. And what I'll tell you is this, you can find peace in the storm and stop convincing yourself otherwise. I don't care if the debt collector is calling you. I don't care if the mortgage is missed. You can still show up today, because if you show up today, your problems 30 days from now are going to be a little bit easier. But if you don't show up today and you allow the storm of life to keep you drowned, you are just going to stand still and take no action. And so when I finally said, you know what? The storm's here. Fuck it. We're showing up. We're making the dials, because it's going to be better 30 days. It's going to be better 60 days. Now, granted, it took a little bit longer from January to June to really crank, but we knew it was going to come. And, man, yeah, I'm fired up. And there's a time when I feel like sometimes I'm kicking and screaming and I'm yelling at God because you go through your experiences in life. and you're asking for something that you don't know you need. But I can tell you right now, there are no accidents. Brent Grove, Chris Akamira, Ross Rawson, all the people that in life that you think are, or anybody that has gone to do something great in their life, you're going to go through it. You're going to go through it, and it's not going to be perfect. So yeah, I'm rambling, but I'm all fired up now.
That was fire, bro. And it's so true because it's so relative to everything in life. Everybody on this planet, human, is going to go through some crap in life. And that's the part of them molding themselves to either be prepared for what God is about to bring you, or just ultimately let you go down to your demise and your flames and then sink with your boat. It's all up to you. It's about choices, life choices. And you're right. You had everything stacked against you, and yet your outlook on it was still, this is going to work. This is going to work. This is going to work. Right. And if you imagine if you went back and says, oh my God, this is never going to work. I can't believe I'm going through this again. Right. You can think of every 100 reasons why it didn't. And then you can think of the one of like, this is going to work. In my heart of hearts, this is going to work. And look where you're at today. So that is the key to success, by the way. That is your magic potion. If you want to hear it out there, those are listening. It's that driving desire of passion within you, knowing that, again, you got to believe ultimately that one, you deserve it, and that you will make it come about, and it will happen. It will happen. I promise you, it will happen. I was going to bring another individual on that started recently, and I kind of coached a little bit. She was at EXP a little bit, and she went somewhere else too, but we're still really close friends. And she was going through the very same thing, challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge, hitting the wall, thinking, God, it's never going to work. Where she was in tears constantly of like, my life sucks. Why is this not working? And I'm like, what am I going to do? And my age, like, it's just destroying her, right? And then the other day I talked to her, and she's literally got 4 deals in escrow, bro, and 2 are away. And I says, I want you to lay in this right now. I want you to like lay in this success right now and relish in the fact that when we had a conversation again, like a year ago, you were down and out and literally just like crying, unrefutably crying and thinking that it was never going to work. And I kept telling you, number one, do not quit, do not quit, do not quit. And she didn't. And she's like, oh my God, you're so right. And here I am. I said, this is not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy. And the moment that you accepted that it's not going to be easy, that everything you're going to fight for is going to fight back and punch you back twice as hard as you're punching forward, you got to keep pushing forward. But in your heart of hearts, you believe, you know you're going to make it. So Ross, my friend, I applaud you. I respect the hell out of you. And bro, I look at your journey and I watch you, and I have just tremendous amount of love for you and what you're doing for you and your family, and the fact that you are rising and you've never quit. You've never quit ever. And you've had this conversation with me over and over again. I'm like, bro, we've like, stop it. You're going to do this. Keep going, keep going. And no matter what was happening, no matter what was going on, right? You're like, go. I'm like, dude, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And look where you're at. So there we go. The words behind you written on the wall as if it was like brought down by God. Keep going. That is the key. And you know what's funny is, and you probably look back at that because it's there all the time. So look back and it reminds you, keep
all
going.
Day.
And I have this little thing now on my phone because it's interesting. I was reading this statistic of how many times as humans we actually look at our phone per day.
How many is it?
Oh, it's thousands and thousands of times a day. I don't remember the exact number, but it was like tremendous. Like, whoa, where you actually flick your phone or click it with your touch and it comes on because you're always looking at it, right? For emails, texts, social media, whatever you're going on your phone for, right? Calling,
notifications, timers, all of it.
Reality is it's thousands and thousands of times a day the average human will click on their phone and look at their phone. And so what better usage of that every time I click on it, I have now on my screensaver. Every time I touch the phone, it comes up with this, I don't know, you can't see it, but it just says.
No, if you put it a little closer, I can see it. Okay. Never mind. It worked for a second. What does it say? It
says, I will win.
Come on.
I will win. Every time I click on it. So every time I click on my phone, even if it's to see what time it is, because obviously sometimes we don't wear watches. So I'll click and tap on it, see what time it is or what the day is today. First thing that pops up in big, white, bold letters across my screen, I will win. And I see that 1,000 times a day, if not more, that I've touched my phone. So it's that constant reminder. And I'm like, oh, and that has been a massive change for me, to be honest, for me in my psychological aspect of life and where I'm at in my business and where I'm going, to just never quit because I know I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And I don't mean that
Come
arrogantly
on.
or
No,
maliciously
bro.
or egotistically or narcissistically. Is I am going to win in life.
That's right.
I'm going to win. And that win, by the way, is not like just this one thing like, oh, I finally won. No, it's the small little everythings. I got out of bed today at 5:30 like I'm supposed to. I got in bed to go do my things. I did my savers. I did my meditation. I did my reading. I did my journaling. That's a win. They're all wins, right? So everything in my life right now, I'm creating a massive win in my life. And once you start hanging around winners, what does that do to you? In theory,
That's
or
right.
actually in reality, your proximity is power. If you're hanging out with the 5 winners that are winning at a very high level, you're going to be the 6th winner. I promise you. So,
That's awesome.
anyways,
Hey,
I just
before we wrap this up, though, I want to ask you a question, okay? Because I know for you too, man. I mean, you moved to Hawaii, you changed your whole geographic location, okay? Your business pivoted, okay? Now you're in a whole new arena. What have been the things for you, for the listeners, that also has helped you to remain consistent, but now to get the outcomes that you're doing? Because you're also always stretching yourself, man. I mean, you just put on a huge event, okay? And you had a couple hundred people come out. I mean, that's nothing that, it's just a walk in the park. So what are you doing to not only remain consistent, but to instill the belief in yourself that you can go out and do these things that maybe you haven't done before?
oh
I want
man,
to hear that.
yeah,
I want to hear
uncharted
that.
territories, right? In life, it's uncharted territories. It's the unknown pieces that I think every human being like refuses to be a part of because nobody likes unknown. And even for you, everybody's story has an unknown attached to it. The outcome is always unknown. And that's the beauty part of all this, that it's all unknown. And yet we strive and push forward to make things happen. Or you don't. It's up to you, your choice, right? Or you don't. And it's easy as that. Like Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right either way. So in my mind, I have to keep myself, I've always said this, I'm the guy that has to get up every morning and convince myself that I am amazing. And I have to. It's a never ending. It's like me getting up and having to take a shower and brush my teeth on a daily basis because it's just part of the regimen of life. I have to get up and remind myself and do certain aspects and activities that are centered around my mental, psychological well-being. I do. I just don't have that muscle in my body where I wake up every morning and spring out of bed. And I don't think anybody ever really does. But there are people that actually have it better than, that are very strong-willed and have that desire, every bit of the day. I just don't. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, there's been a lot of changes in my life, a lot, major changes geographically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically, a lot, financially, a whole bunch. And it's not been easy. The move to Hawaii has not been easy by any means. All my friends think that I'm living in this land of paradise, which I am. Granted, I can look out my window right now and it's beautiful. It's all like a postcard. Yet the reality is I still have to deal with all the massive changes and fluctuations of craziness and the responsibility of showing up, be accountable to do the things, to keep things growing. So for me, every day, my daily activities is imperative. If I don't do the daily activities for myself, and I have fallen short where there's days I don't show up and do my daily activities. And there's 2 or 3 days later, I'm like, holy crap, I have not done my daily activities. And I see myself slide down this slippery slope of slowly getting down to a different place that I refuse to be in. And all of a sudden I have to re-jerk. Oh God, get back. Okay, climb back up that hill and get back in my daily activities. And so it's very easy to understand that you can very quickly see yourself in one light and then very quickly be in another without us even consciously knowing it. Because we allow ourselves to slide and we don't show up for ourselves one day. We don't show up for ourselves 2 days. We don't show up for ourselves 3 days. The next thing you know, it's 3 weeks, but we didn't know it because in our mind consciously, we're not really paying attention to that calendar. And then 3 weeks later, we're like, our entire life trajectory has just been thrown off its kilt. And we're like, something's not right here. I am not feeling right here. I feel awkward. I feel weird. I feel insecure. I feel inadequate. And then you look at where, well, I'm not showing up and doing my daily life, my requirements. And so the consistency to all that is imperative. I have to consistently do that. It's like breathing for me. I have to do it. So for me, it's doing my things, my meditation, my affirmations, my visualization, my reading, my journaling, all of it. You got to do it. and being there for myself physically, working out, staying physically in shape because that helps my mind psychologically. But also out here, just really being around an energy, knowing that I'm here for a purpose. I don't think I yet still realize that I'm living in Hawaii. I just told my friend that yesterday. I was like, I don't really still believe in Hawaii because it was a conversation I had years ago. Like, I'm going to move to Hawaii. Eventually, I'm going to move to Hawaii. And there's a lot of events that led up to that in my life that honestly kind of deterred me and didn't allow me to go there and transition me in different ways, whatever. And I believe my whole heart that it was meant to be. And I love and respect every bit of those experiences. Don't regret them at all. But now it's like I'm here. And so I'm having to adjust in that. And yes, it's a lot. But it's not been all butterflies and kisses. It's been Dungeons and Dragons. And honestly, yeah, a lot. But I have to live with the mentality the same way that it is going to happen, which is why I have that on my phone. I will win. And winning is a lot of different ways, right? It's winning from a place of self-worth, winning from a place of self-confidence, winning from a place of authenticity. Like, I'm going to win. And again, people look at it like it's a very selfish, arrogant way of like, oh, you're going to be like that guy who's cut shady and just go do whatever it takes to win because you're going to win. No, I'm going to win in life. I'm going to win in life, right? And that means all aspects of my life, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of it, financially. I'm going to win. And a lot of the times that all the things I work on my mental, spiritual, physical part of it, the financial becomes a byproduct of that. It starts to grow, right? And so I don't focus so much on the financial part of it. I believe that God's going to allow whatever he's going to allow into my life. And I believe that I deserve it and I'm worthy of it. I truly do believe that. So now it's that piece. To answer your question, yeah, that's where I'm at, brother. It's another
bro. That's good.
And I
love that. I love that you said at the end though, the receiving piece. So you're doing everything to build. You're doing everything to keep everything on track. But you're also now training yourself to say, hey, now I have to be able to receive these amazing outcomes I'm building for. Now I have to train myself to receive the goodness that I actually am teaching myself that I'm willing to receive. And that is truly also another art of the mindset piece that we, even on this podcast, I was saying, oh, no. And you had to correct me and say, Ross, receive my compliment, right? Yeah. It's so silly how we do that to ourselves. So, bro, I love that, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a good piece of advice for sure.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, right? We're always here trying to pour in, share our life stories, our experiences in life so that hopefully out there, even if it helps one person that's listening this morning and thinking their life is in the dumps, or their life is not going the way it's supposed to be, but they can hear our story, hear some things that maybe might be good nuggets from they can apply in their life and realize that, hey, this is relatable. Ross and Chris are just like me. People hold them on a pedestal. They look at them from a different light, but yet they're just humans like I am, and they're experiencing the same stuff that I'm going through, and yet they've managed to continue to dig themselves out of it. So here we are. That's the purpose of this podcast. So I appreciate and respect you as well. I think we always have a lot to bring of value to this channel, and hopes that those who are listening can make an effect and impact in their life. And that's what we're here for. So I appreciate everybody that's always listening. And again, we are going to work very, very hard at being consistent at doing this. I think we've committed to doing back to doing at least 2 a month for us right now as we integrate new lives and situations that we're doing. So we're going to hold ourselves accountable to that. So every second and fourth Wednesday, we shoot into podcasts for you guys and hope to bring some more guests too as speakers as well, so we can bring some more talent in this as well. But until then, we love and respect each and every one of you guys. We appreciate you guys listening. And Ross, my friend, I always appreciate you for showing up the way you do. And we will continue to push forward and add value to all those people in this world that we care and love about. So have an amazing week. Go out and crush it. And we'll see you next time.